everyone, it's Max from Neon Space. I just wanted to make a quick tutorial today to go over some of the DeFi options and TradeFi options available on the Wax blockchain. Maybe if you're new to the DeFi space and you're coming into this from playing blockchain games and from collecting NFTs, this is a nice transition into understanding that side of the world. Here we go. I'm going to start on Alcor.exchange, which is kind of like the OG protocol for trading on Wax. By default, it'll look like this. I'm going to change from EOS mainnet to Wax mainnet and then click Connect Wallet up here. I am using my Anchor wallet. The big thing to do on Alcor Swap, I would say, is this Marketplace tab and this Wallet tab. I'm going to go through all of these really quick. On Docs, we can read about what Alcor Exchange is, kind of get an overview of their protocol here, how their swap platform works, how the fees work. You can kind of dive real deep into everything on the Docs platform. On the Wallet tab, it'll actually see all of the different tokens I have in my wallet. So even though there's a very tiny amount of a lot of these, it sees them. So it sees that I have a Ether, I have CPR, some TLM. So the wallet function lets me see all my assets. I could come here and say transfer, type a wallet destination address, say like send 5 wax, and then say send, type in a memo. So I can use this as a wallet interface, which is really nice, especially if I'm trying to send tokens that maybe my main wallet doesn't let me send. The NFT market, I won't even click on it. It kind of has a hard time loading. Yeah, see, it's like kind of slow and stuff, and it's making my cursor not want to respond. I like Atomic Hub or Nifty Blocks or Chain Champs to buy NFTs versus here. I wouldn't recommend using this at all, honestly. The OTC, similar, unless you know what you're doing, I'd stay off of this tab. The Markets tab I actually really like. So here you can see all the different Wax blockchain games, different Wax tokens that exist for trading on the Wax blockchain, paired with mostly Wax, but there's a lot of options here for trading, and this is what's called a limit order trading market. So here we go. Let's look at like Nifty token, for example. Here's the Nifty Wax token. It brings up the interface here. What we're looking at is maybe a little overwhelming because it's got a lot of numbers, but it's mostly information and we don't have to actually interact with much of it. So what we're looking at really quick, I'll break it down. This is what's called the continuous order book. Each one of these represents an order where somebody has signed a transaction and has said they want to purchase an amount of Nifty tokens, or they want to sell an amount of Nifty tokens for a set price. So here these ones are saying they'll sell these Nifty tokens, this amount of Nifty token for this amount of Wax. Where here someone's saying, well, they're willing to purchase this amount of Nifty token for this amount of Wax right now. So these are available. You can fill these orders immediately if you want. This is the trading screen, kind of shows you the hourly chart. Right now I have it set to 4 hours. You can change it to the Ds. So now what that means is one candlestick here, one of these bars equals 1 day. If you set it to W, it's now they each equal 1 week. So it gives you a kind of like an overview of what the price action is doing. I usually don't like to zoom in further than 4 hours, but there's a lot of ways to read charts. Here we have the options to just jump into different trading pairs, but I want to stick to Nifty Wax right now. And then here we can see the last orders that filled. And then here, this little screen part of the interface, this is the only thing that we ever need to interact with. So by default, it's set to limit trade. Limit trade means you get to set a price at which you want an order to fill. You can also toggle here to market trade. This just means buy whatever's available at whatever the current price. So if I say buy Nifty, if I could say like 25% of my Wax to buy Nifty, it'll just use the 12 Wax here to then start filling all the available orders until we run out. So it would fill definitely all the way through this 9 Wax one and then stop once we hit my 12 Wax worth, and I'll have bought 20 Nifty from this order plus whatever the difference remaining is from this order, and my total price will be the difference between those two. Limit trading is going to be a little different. So let's say if I want to get a little bit better deal than what this guy's offering, I can click on here. It'll automatically fill in what the values are, and now I can go a little bit above what he's offering. Let's say I say 8, and then I'll buy 10 Nifty tokens for that. It'll cost me 4 Wax. I can say buy. That's going to ask for my wallet signature. And what happens is you'll see here my open order, and then added to the order book. Everybody can see now I have offered to pay a little bit higher. So now I can come back whenever and see if this order's filled. And if it hasn't, I can just click cancel and send this transaction, and the Wax will be back in my wallet. Right now the Wax is not in my wallet. It's in the smart contract of Alcor Swap, where I've basically sent the Wax, giving the memo to give them permission to use it if the condition of the price is met. If that condition is met, I'll receive back the Nefty token instead of the wax, but if it's not met, the wax will stay there and my wallet is the only wallet that can unlock it, in theory. So that's, if you want to vet that further for yourself, you can always go through the docs and read through their smart contracts as well. Because there is no middleman here, it's just you and the wallet. The middleman is the protocol itself. So on this Alcor swap, you end up with this interesting network of different marketplaces where you can sell and buy different cryptocurrencies using limit orders or market orders. At the top, there's also this swap. So this swap makes it even more simple where you could trade. Let's go back to Nefty. So here I can see my Nefty tokens. I could just say 10 wax. I would immediately get 22 Nefty tokens if I hit swap, which if I go back to the Nefty market, with my 10 wax here, I'm asking for, oh, that's 4 wax. Okay, so if I was asking for the same price and I said 10 wax, that would be 22.8, whereas right now the immediate available price on the swap for 10 wax is 22.2. So I'm asking for a little bit higher price, but this is available right now and I could literally hit swap. So let's say swap, go, sign, and just like that, I now have 22 Nefty tokens in my wallet. If I go back to the wallet tab here, it'll update and show me now I have 22 Nefty tokens here as well. So that trade didn't have an order waiting to be filled, but instead that trade was filled by what's called a liquidity pool. So here you can see the liquidity sourcing fee for this trade is 0.3%. So if I click this liquidity tab here, we can see that there is pretty deep liquidity available for Nefty token. And I can participate in supplying this liquidity by clicking plus liquidity and adding here. If I added the 10 that I just bought with 10 wax, you can see I'd get 9.9 wax as a counterpart and say provide liquidity. Now, having done this, it's adding to my, I already have a liquidity position in TLM here. I just hit the minus, by the way, which comes up here, minus liquidity. I can slide and I can say withdraw. So I have a position in this pool, 9.8 wax against 22 Nefty tokens. As people buy Nefty tokens from this pool, a portion of those Nefty tokens will come from my 22, and then the portion of the wax that they put up for that purchase will come to my position as well. In my wallet, what I have is an index right here, wax Nefty. This index token is tracking my ownership position in the pool, and the pool is trying to keep Nefty token and wax at equal parts in value. So what happens if one of those assets climbs or falls in value, the other asset will be basically climbing or falling in volume to like compensate. Meaning if Nefty token were to rise in price relative to wax, that would mean that the pool would start to sell the Nefty token to buy more wax. So there would be less Nefty token, but more wax. And when you withdraw your position, if the price of Nefty token has appreciated more than wax, then there'll be less Nefty token, but more wax to claim. Hopefully, as a liquidity provider, there's enough trading volume happening against that pair where people are paying this 0.3% fee that you have to pay every time you make a trade. Hopefully enough of that is happening to help also pay me enough of a yield to offset my risk in this price movement, because if the price movement is too aggressive on the Nefty token climbing, then me selling Nefty token into wax will ultimately be worth less than if I had just held Nefty tokens outside of the liquidity pool. So this type of loss is considered decay loss or impermanent loss. Which is considered basically impermanent, because if you were to remain in the pool and the price were to like level out over time, the fees collected by trading against the pool pair will outpace the loss of the decay of one of your assets relative to the other. But I like the term decay loss a little bit better, because, you know, impermanent loss suggests it's not permanent, and it can very much be permanent if the value of your token doesn't come back up. A way that a lot of protocols will help to subsidize a person, to incentivize them to participate in supplying liquidity, is by offering liquidity incentives. So in the previous video, we talked about how Nefty Blocks is actually incentivizing people to participate in their liquidity pool, but that's not the only option out there. So I'm going to withdraw this liquidity and go participate in some liquidity mining elsewhere. So DeFi on Wax and on Alcor for the swap, I'm not that into this, because The only way to trade here is if there's a direct pool that exists with two assets that are directly trading against each other. But if I wanted to say trade TLM and Neon token, it doesn't show up because there is no direct pair. But Neon token does have a pair of liquidity against Wax. So here, oh, and there it is. It did find that pair. So I could trade against Wax, but I can't trade against TLM because TLM doesn't have a direct pair existing for Neon. So what I would have to do is then use, Wax to manually buy TLM from the pool and then use the Wax to then buy the Neon if I want to do that. If we go instead though to defibox.io, and then up here, by default, it's on the EOS blockchain as well. We change to the Wax blockchain. This is another swap protocol. It only has the swap. It doesn't have the limit trading market, but on this platform, you can do trades between assets that don't have direct pairs. So you could do, for example, Wax against Nifty token, and there's a direct pair here, because if I say, you can see here's the depth for liquidity. There's 1,000 Wax paired against 2,000 Nifty tokens available in this pool. But I can also do this Nifty token and then trade against Neon. Even though there isn't a direct pair, now it's going to do Nifty to Wax and Wax to Neon for me, and I don't have to worry about having it do that. So I can take my 22, well, that's a little much, but I could take like 10 of these and trade them into 1.5 Neon right now, and it would automatically route through these pools. So this is a really cool place to do swaps and trading against all different types of assets very easily. I click up here to connect to my wallet. I'm already signed into my wallet right now, but a very nice platform to do just swapping, because I can swap literally any of my game currencies that I mine for, or that I participate in blockchain gaming with, and I could swap them directly into any other game currency, no matter what the pools available for those assets are. The other thing here is when we click on the market tab, we can see all the different assets and that what pool they're supplied to. Most of this stuff is going to be paired with Wax, if not all of it. So you have Box Wax, Aether Wax, RDAO Wax, and they're in this order based on how much liquidity is available in those pools. So here you can see the deepest liquidity on this platform has about 706,000 Wax in bilateral depth. Bilateral depth means that's the Wax value of both the Wax and the Box side of that pool. On the right, the far right column here, we see the APY. This APY is based not only on the volume of trading happening against that liquidity pool, where the liquidity sourcing fee is generating passive yield for the people supplying liquidity, it also factors in a liquidity mining incentive that is being handed out here through Defibox. So we can find in the top right corner, by clicking the mining button, you can find all these different currencies that are currently being incentivized and paid out alongside this Box token, which is the main protocol token here on Defibox. To participate in these, you can find, whichever corresponding token. So let's find, for example, NBM Mini. This is a Minium from Battle Miners. So let's find that. If we go to swap, we'll do Wax into Minium. So NBM Minium, here it is. If I click on a liquidity up here, I can see, oh, it has an APY of 319%. And if I click details, I'll see that the RT APY, which is stands for real-time APY and is effectively APR in other words, I suppose. The liquidity mining, so you're earning for supplying liquidity in Wax and NBM token here. You're earning 113% APR paid in Box token, along with 202% APR paid in NBM Minium token, along with 3.18% APR in base fees. This is the paid basically directly to your position in the underwritten assets. So that means you're getting paid in Wax and NBM for this position in this rate, for a total of 319%. And then this side, what they're doing is assuming that if you claim your yield every day, every 24 hours, and trade it directly back into Wax and NBM, this would be your annualized APY, considering a daily compounding like that, where you would come you'd supply liquidity by saying add liquidity, and then having, you know, your positions here. So let's do this. I'm gonna swap 10 wax into NBM to start with, so that I have a little bit on both sides. Now I can go liquidity, add liquidity, click that. It's gonna want the counterpart. I'm gonna confirm, sign those transactions. Yeah, and now that I have this liquidity, it shows up here, my liquidity, and I can also click on the My tab up here. It'll find here box AY, and it shows down here wax NBM LP. So it is now worth 20 wax, like I wanted it to be, because I did 10 that I initially swapped. That was going to be half of the value. And now when I come back later, I can come up here, click mining, and I'll have earned a box token and NBM miniums and these tokens. I can click claim, and I'll basically have those paid directly to my wallet. And let's see if, so you can see I'm starting to earn them already just for adding that liquidity there. So I can literally claim these anytime I want. There is no minimums or vesting periods or penalties for claiming or anything like that. So now I've claimed those tokens, and I can come back up to swap, and you can see I can directly swap that. And I'm effectively mining for cryptocurrencies using liquidity that I'm providing to this swap protocol. So by me supplying the liquidity, I'm making it easier for other people to trade assets. I'm getting a little bit of a kickback from those assets, and I'm being paid by the token suppliers usually. So a lot of those kickbacks come from the teams behind these tokens. So for like Shell, you could get Shellinium for supplying Shell wax. You could get Bit for supplying Bit wax. So it's all of these tokens are being incentivized by these pools, so that the games behind them that use the tokens can actually have some depth of liquidity, so that their players have some foundation of depth, so that they can actually buy like $10 worth of a game token without having to pay $11 for it. And that's kind of like what these incentives are doing. So you can come here, markets, look through the APYs, find tokens that you want to contribute, that you're okay with the risk of holding either side of that pair, and then put those into a liquidity position like we did up here by just going to the swap tab, selecting your assets and clicking the liquidity button. And then you'll see they'll get added here, and that's it. Once they're in your wallet like this, you can just sit on them, and you can enjoy coming back here whenever you like to the mining tab and getting your payout in these tokens. So if I hit refresh again, you'll see it'll have changed. 0.11, and I'm back up to here. Any of these tokens that you supply liquidity to, you can start farming and mining the kickbacks from the yield pools. It's kind of cool. It's very fun to see all this stuff emerging on Wax. So if you were unfamiliar with the territory, that's kind of how you mess with it. It doesn't mean you should go and trade or try to assign value to any of these tokens. At the end of the day, game currencies are just that. They're game tokens that shouldn't be considered to have real world values, is what we're told time and time again by the creators of the tokens. So take that to heart before you YOLO into all this stuff. But at least know that it's out there, and this is kind of how you can start interacting with these things. If you have any questions, come find us over on Discord or come watch our Twitch stream. We're Neon Space. And yeah, thanks for joining me.